At the start of the year, Eaglemoss announced a new line of Sonic the Hedgehog mini statues, or figurines as they called them. You know the kind of product, adult pop collectibles, which you can't pose and you really wouldn't want your kids to get a hold of, or else they'd probably break them. You've probably seen the likes of this product from Funko, First Form Figures, and even Boom 8, all of which have recently released an adult Sonic collectible figure line. So with such strong competition, how does the Eaglemoss Sonic line compare? Well, Eaglemoss got in touch with me and asked if I'd like to take a look at their new line of Sonic figurines, and naturally, I said yes. Which brings me on to the first point. There is a referral link in the video description to get 10% off if you sign up and place an order with them, and for full disclosure, I'll also get 10% off any future orders that I make, but you don't have to do that, the option is just there if you want it. So let's now take a close-up look at the new Eaglemoss Classic Sonic figurine collection to see how they stack up and if they are actually worth a pickup. And we'll start with two figures which we've already covered on this channel, Sonic and Eggman. So I won't be spending too much time going over these since we've already done that in a previous video, but these figurines were released just prior to the global lockdown, and unfortunately a lot of fans actually ran into some serious issues with them. Whilst I had no problems with mine, and I was quite impressed overall with these items, there were a lot of reports of damaged figurines which left a very sour taste in the mouth of many a collector. The issue was that the figures were being damaged as they were placed into the plastic clamshell casing and then shipped out to fans. Well, it does indeed seem that Eaglemoss have listened and learnt their lessons, because the new figurines come in some very different and much more secure packaging. Let's take a look at the Tails figure as an example. So if you compare the packaging of the older figures to the newer ones, the first thing you notice is that you can't actually see through the box anymore, and there's a very good reason for that. Unlike the original figurines which came in this clamshell plastic, the new figurines are actually encased in foam. It's far safer, and it also makes the figurines look way more high-end and just gives the entire product a far more professional feel. A huge thumbs up to Eaglemoss for this change. But what of the actual Tails figure itself? He actually looks quite awesome, but he does have a few little issues. But first of all, let's just start off with the positives. First of all, the paintwork on this figure is really good. Due to the way that they've done the base and even parts of Tails himself, it looks hand painted, and parts of the base have this nice sense of texture on the brickwork and grass. Speaking of the statue's base, that's the aquatic ruin zone from Sonic 2. I'm pretty sure this is the first piece of merch to actually depict that zone, so that's cool. Well done, Eaglemoss, that's an awesome bit of detail. There are, however, a couple of paint errors on the white parts of Tails' body, but at a distance he looks really good. However, the biggest problem that I actually have with him is his tails. It's a separate piece and it doesn't really fit into Tails or the base. It just sort of balances between the two, so sometimes it doesn't look quite right, no matter what the angle is that I position it at. And curiously, the render on the box doesn't even show that this part fits into the base. It makes it look like it's actually part of the statue itself. So I wonder if that did get changed at a later point. So your mileage on this figure is really going to depend on how nitpicky you are. But personally, I think that at a distance, this figure looks fine, and I really like how parts of it have texture on the paintwork. But that said, it's not perfect. Another issue that I did have with mine, and this is going to be a reoccurring theme, is that the magazine was also partly crushed in the box, so it's a little bit creased. As for the contents of the magazine, it's very much like the first two figurines, in that the first two pages are unique, if not following a similar layout and structure, and the last few pages are unfortunately identical to the first two magazines, but those are the only real negatives. Let's move on to Knuckles. This is one almighty figure. Knuckles looks fantastic, and whilst it's not the most original of poses, it's actually based on this piece of official artwork. It's a very accurate recreation. It's an extremely well made figure. I love the fact that they've actually given him the Lego brick details on his shoes, and they've not cheapened out by simply painting them on. They're actually physically there. His base is a little bit lacking compared to Tails, but it is based on the hidden palette Palace Zone, which it has that smooth and plain blue look to it. And again, I'm pretty sure this is another first, the first piece of Hidden Palace Zone merch, so that's quite cool. And despite the smooth look to it, there are bits of texture here and there along the bottom, and this figurine is probably my favourite out of the bunch. It's so well done. However, it does have one little issue. The problem is that Knuckles doesn't seem to fit into the base very well. There is a little gap there. It's small and you won't notice it from a distance, but it is there. So it's, again, not perfect, but it's still a very, very good figure. Probably a must-have for collectors of Knuckles merch. And unfortunately, like with the Tails figure, the magazine was creased when put into the box, and the contents are very similar to the others. But the figure itself, I do highly recommend it. But now, it's time for something a bit more super. Oh my god! So if you thought Knuckles looked great, then this figure is something else. This is an awesome Supersonic depiction. The pose makes Supersonic look dynamic, as well as convey his sense of power after he's transformed. I love how you can make out each clenched finger on the fist. It only adds to his sense of strength. The base itself is a bit of a strange choice. According to Eaglemoss, it's actually based on the Tornado plane from Sonic 2, but I don't think it looks quite right. I think another zone would be a much better choice for this one. Maybe something a little bit out of left field would have been better, like Wing Forces, or even Hilltop Zone. That would have been something cool and a little bit different. Anyway, upon further inspection, the figure looks really good. Aside from a few minor paint errors near his ankles, the detail on his eyes and his mouth, it's so good. The figure might even be the best one so far, but it does have one very big problem. That being, he doesn't fit into the base correctly. It's worse than the Knuckles figure. Try as I might, I cannot get this figure to fit into the base. No matter what I do, both of the small prongs won't fit in, and I dare not force it because I fear the legs would just snap. And like the other figures so far, the magazine has some creasing damage, and the contents are near identical to the previous ones. The main issue that I have with the figure is that it just won't fit into the base correctly. If it were not for this one problem, I'd say this figure is an absolute must-buy regardless as to what you collect Sonic-wise. Just because of the pose and the level of detail, it really does make this one stand out. It looks fantastic, and for Supersonic collectors, it's gotta be a must-have, despite the problem that I've identified. So there are two more figures in this set, and they're just a little bit different to what we've seen so far. Hello, Pixel Sonic! I love it. I fully accept that some people will look at this and absolutely hate it, and to be fair, that was my initial impression too when I saw the render on the website, but now it's here in my hands, I'm really impressed with it. There have been previous attempts to make pixel-like figures. Kid Robot has come the closest to this, but this one from Eaglemoss is just light years ahead in terms of quality. Aside from having a unique texture as it tries to emulate that 2D pixel effect in a 3D space, you would expect a figure with these dimensions to have quite a lot of paint errors, but there's only a few of them, and they're really hard to see. You have to be looking really close to see these ones. The base itself is Green Hill, and it too has been given the pixel effect. I couldn't find anything that was significantly wrong with this figure. It's definitely one of the better figures in the series. However, I do fully accept that a lot of you might get initially put off by how it looks, but when you've got it in front of you, it is a brilliant little figure. Unfortunately, like with the others, the magazine was creased and has a very similar format to the other ones. However, this one is more focused on Sonic CD, which is a little bit different. And let's move now onto the final figure, Pixel Tails. So if Pixel Sonic is going to divide your opinions, I really don't know how you're going to react to this one. Pixel Tails is the most unique of all the figures so far, in that he's actually one solid object. You don't have to attach him to a base. And his facial expression, ooh, it looks a little bit odd in the pixel style, it's still a very impressive little statue. Much like the Pixel Sonic, there's very little in terms of paint errors, but given the pose and how Tails is positioned above what appears to be the clouds from the Sky Chase zone, it's a really unique depiction. There's only one other figure out there which resembles this, and again, it's from Kid Robot, but to compare these two is a big stretch. They're very different in terms of overall presentation, and for me, I'm saying that this figure from Eaglemoss is better, just down to its unique design and the fact it has a dedicated base that's actually themed around a zone. I can't decide if I like the Pixel Tails figure better than the Pixel Sonic one. It may just edge my preference just to how unique it looks to virtually every other bit of recent Tails merch that exists. I think this one is another absolute must for fans of Tails, especially for collectors who specialise in Tails merchandise. It's just so unique and so well made, and yes, the expression looks a little bit funny, maybe even a tiny bit creepy, but that said, it's a brilliant little figure, definitely one of the highlights in this set. And if you can believe it, it's the only magazine that comes with the new foam packaging that actually was delivered in mint condition. Unfortunately, the magazine itself doesn't have much information, and it oddly contains an ending screen from Sonic 1. You know Sonic 1, the game that Tails didn't actually appear in, although there is actually a big focus on the 8-bit Sonic titles in which Tails features quite heavily, so they are trying with how small the magazine is. There is some effort going into it. Unfortunately though, the final few pages, the content is identical to every other magazine in the set. So now that we actually have the full set of Eaglemoss Sonic figurines, or mini statues, what's the verdict? I would say that given the overall quality of them, these are a fine addition to someone's collection. They have a really high quality and most of them look really cool on display. And with several of the figurines having bases which are actually themed on zones that have never had official merch before, it really does feel that someone at Eaglemoss did their research and they really did try to make these figurines stand out compared to rival products. There are, however, a few problems with some of the figures, and while serious issues such as breakages appear to be completely resolved thanks to that new foam packaging, I still had some issues with actually attaching the figurines to their bases. That said, when these figurines have no problems at all, my god, they're fantastic. The Knuckles figure especially is one of the best in the line, and the Supersonic figure is just magnificent. But the biggest surprises for me have to be the Pixel Sonic and the Pixel Tails figures. They might be my favourite ones from the entire line. Personally, I think they're a must-have for collectors who specialise in those characters. They're just so unique, and if you can get around the odd visual presentation, you might find that these end up being in your top spot for best figures from this series. The biggest problem that I think most people will have with this figure line is the price. Each figure costs £20 and the entire line costs over $140. That's just over $180. So if you are on the fence and are still a bit unsure, I'd personally start with a character that you really like. So if you just collect Sonic, or if you have a dedicated Knuckles or Tails collection, maybe go for those figures first. And if you like them, who knows, you might decide, hey, I'm going to pick up the rest. So speaking of that, just a reminder, there is a referral link to Eaglemoss in the video description. Signing up and making a purchase will get you 10% off your first order. But anyway, overall, I think based on the quality of all the figures in the line, I have to say that I do recommend these figurines. They're definitely a strong competitive alternative to the various other mini statue or mini figurines, adult pop culture collectible lines that are out there. They look professional, they feel high quality, so I do hope that Eaglemoss will actually continue the Sonic line and we'll see more characters joining soon. Amy, for an example, is missing from this line, but she's printed in every magazine. Come on Eaglemoss, what's going on? We want some Amy figures. But anyway, what do you guys think? Do you like the look of these figures? Is there one that you're interested in picking up? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. And odds are Eaglemoss will be checking this video out, so if there's a character you'd like to see get a mini statue or mini figurine treatment, just flood the comments with your thoughts. Personally, I want to see Amy join the line, and if they go down the modern character line, Blaze the Cat would be really cool. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this video on the Eaglemoss Sonic figurines. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and don't forget to click that subscribe and the bell notification button. If you'd like to further support the channel and the work I do, please consider checking out my Patreon. I'm still having a bit of a long break at the moment from active video production due to spending time improving my health, but hopefully I can give you a full update on how that's going very soon. Until next time, take care of yourself and we'll see you again soon.
The prophecy